Here are books I will not read, based on vibes alone, but also based on what I've heard from other people, and yeah, let's just get into it. First book, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I have heard so many times that this book is about, like, domestic abuse and isn't really a romance, and that's all I needed to know. Not gonna read it. That does not sound like my vibe. Moving on. Second book I will not read, The Spanish Love Deception. I've heard from so many people that this book is 100 pages too long. And also, I feel like it's way too, like, hyped up. I just feel like it can't be that good. What else? There are more books that I, like, that I just, like, don't want to read. I can't, like, think of anything right now. Any of Penelope Douglas's books, with the exception of Credence, because I'm just, like, a little bit too curious. Like, I might read it just because I'm too curious. Also, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I own this book. Like, I bought it well over a year ago, like, intending to read it, started it, never picked it up again. Here are more books that I refuse to read. Now, don't hate me for this, but the Harry Potter series. Listen, I have a rule about books that get turned into TV shows and movies, that if I've already seen the TV show and movie adaptation, then the book doesn't exist to me. I can't, like, picture anything other than the movie in my head, and it ruins the reading experience for me. So Harry Potter, out, can't read it. Same goes for, like, the Hunger Games, the Divergent series. These are all book series that my sister, like, loves, but I've already seen the movies, and, like, I can't read the book if I've already seen the movies. Same goes for To All the Boys I Loved Before, like, that whole book series. I would love to read it, but I can't now because I've watched the movies, and I love the movies, and they're so cute. So, like, no, can't do that. Here's part 3 of books I refuse to read. Let's get into it. First book, From Blood and Ash. I just, people have been telling me that this book's just not that good, so I believe y'all, and I just won't read it. Whatever. Sounds like a waste of time anyway. Second, which is, like, kind of like a book series, is the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I just have a gut feeling that it's not that good. Like, I don't know what it is about the series, but something is telling me that it's not worth the read. So I'm just not gonna read it. Fuck it. And then lastly, this book, and the main reason is because it's supposed to be age gap where she's 18 and he's 36. What about an age gap where one of the characters is freshly 18 sounds appealing to anybody? I won't read it. No way. Absolutely not. Here is part 4 of more books I refuse to read. And I'm going to pretend like my reasons are valid because that's how I feel deep in my heart. So let's get started. First, any of Sally Rooney's books. Now, hear me out. Ready? Okay. Her books make me feel the way I did when I was 12 years old, going to Barnes & Noble and going to, like, the adult fiction section and looking at the books and thinking, I'm way too young to read those. I feel that way at 22 when I look at her books. I feel like I'm too young. I feel like I can't read them. There's just something about them that makes me feel like that is not my kind of book. So because of that, I just won't read them. They're just not really my cup of tea. Not really my vibe. Next, maybe a little bit controversial, but the Zodiac Academy series. And it's not because I think it'll be bad, but I've heard so many things about it being, like, unedited, and it's also, like, way too long. Like, I picked up one of the books at Barnes & Noble, and it was, like, this thick. And I was like, okay, that's very overwhelming, and I have a hard time, like, dedicating myself to series, especially when they're that long. And I also heard they're really slow burn, so, like, I can't read a couple books to, like, get into a series. I want it to be good from the first book, or maybe even the second book. Like, I can... you know what I mean? So, like, just something about it I'm just, like, not totally sure about, so I probably won't read it. Part 5 of books I refuse to read? Are we really on the 5th part already? Oh my god, okay. This is by far the most popular videos I have on my page. I don't know why people like hearing me talk shit about books I've never read, but I must deliver. So here is part 5 of books I refuse to read. Pool Boy and the Architect by Nikki Sloan. If you've been here, you know I tried to read The Doctor, and I don't know, man, I can't bring myself to continue the series because that first book was so bad. Pool Boy and the Architect are out. Need more books from Mariana Zapata. I read From Luke Off With Love, and I really liked it. Even the slow burn part, like, the slow burn wasn't the part that I didn't like about her books. I didn't like the way she wrote her books. The writing style isn't really something that I like, like, they were way too long. Like, I feel like most of the stuff that happened in the book didn't need to happen, and it was just an excuse to make the book longer. So because of that, I'm just not interested in reading anything else from her, but I am really glad that I read the one book that I did read from her. I really liked it, but I'm not interested in reading anything else from her. I will probably never stop making these videos. We are on part 6 of books I refuse to read. Let's get into it. First, this I've seen all over my like For You page. A lot of people are talking about it. I have no interest in reading it. It's the Shatter Me series. I don't know, like, nothing about it sounds appealing to me. Like, this just does not seem like the kind of book I would read. I also don't love the covers. I have no idea what the series is about, but I kind of have a feeling it's not for me. So, not gonna read it. Wicked Villains series by Katie Robert. I read the first one and it was garbage. I hated it. I did not enjoy reading that book whatsoever. It was not fun. The story, it was pretty much like all smut, no plot. And I'm a girl that kind of I want plot. Like, and the plot needs to be interesting. It needs to be good. Like, it can't just be like some random shit thrown together. Like, I don't know. It wasn't that good. Everyone talks about this series like it is amazing. And I love the idea of it. Like, I like the idea of Disney princesses getting with their villains. I like the villain winning. Like, I love that. The execution just wasn't it. It wasn't it. And I'm so, like, upset because I want to like Katie Robert so bad. I think I'm still gonna give like Neon Gods and Electric Idol, like those books, a shot, and like I'm very intrigued by The Dragon's Bride too, but like this first book into like the Katie Robert world was so bad, and I don't know, like, did I pick the wrong one to start with, or are they all like this? I literally don't even know anymore of books I refuse to read. This is less of like books, like specific books, but just like books with these tropes or these things in them. First, super obvious. Any book with like a cop as a main character, main love interest character, gross. I won't read that shit. Nobody should be reading that. Nobody should be writing it. So yeah, won't fucking read it. Books with teenage love interests where the other love interest is an adult, like adult teenager. I won't read it. I won't read it. You recommend that shit to me. No. Don't do it, please. I won't ever read it, and I will never be recommending that shit. Part I don't even know. Books I refuse to read. First, anything by Sarah J. Maas. Literally anything, but more specifically ACOTAR. You're probably thinking, wait a minute. Didn't you buy those books?
Flashback.
Yes. I also returned them today. At the time that I bought them, I didn't know anything about Sarah J. Maas, except she was very popular on BookTok. I made a really bad judgment call by buying the entire series, pretty much. I will cut my losses and read other shit. So a year ago today, I posted this video.
Flashback.
For books I will not read. And it like launched an entire series of videos similar to this that I became kind of like popular for. And for a long time, that is what I was doing on here. Since then, I've kind of stopped, but because it's been 1 year since I posted that very first video, I thought, why not do another installment of books I refuse to read. Dark romance books with no content warnings. I need content warnings. I need them from the author specifically because I feel like they know best. It's like really hard for me to want to read a dark romance when I know that the author themselves isn't like giving us the content warnings not in the book, not on their website. I remember I found an author that was doing dark romance and it seemed really interesting, but I could not find content warnings to literally save my life. And then I went out of my way to email them and I never got a response. So that was like a huge red flag. Not everyone is equipped to go into a dark romance completely blind. I know I'm not. Any book with like insta love that isn't monster romance, fantasy romance, or fated mates, I do not want insta love. I will absolutely deny it every single time, especially in just like contemporary, because it's so unrealistic. I just don't believe people fall in love this fast. But lastly, sad books. If I see people posting that they've been crying while reading this book, it's on my list of books I will not read. And unfortunately, the book Happy Place has landed on that list because I've seen way too many people bawling their eyes out while reading, and that scares the shit out of me. I do not want to cry while I'm reading a book. I like actively try to avoid the whole sad books because I don't want to cry while reading, and I don't know why that is.